Hello, world. Augustine Cortez coming live from Web3, currently in day 3 of daily learnings. And today was essentially a bit more technical, got a feel for smart contracts, and really just want to dive into the area. So I spent the day going through some challenges on Ethernaut provided by OpenZeppelin. OpenZeppelin is a library for smart contracts, and they have a challenge area called Ethernaut where you essentially use um, Ethernot's smart contract, but you write functions to it. And the objective so far has always been to get ownership of the smart contract. So this is really, really important to understand from a security standpoint is to understand the flaws and vulnerabilities in code. And by going through the exercises myself, it opens my eyes to realize, okay, this is how smart contracts have holes in the system, and if you're not hyper aware, these vulnerabilities can be snatched. And NFT collection, believe called the Sevens, they experienced a really bad minting experience where one person was able to mint, I think over like 70 items when the limit was around 5 to 7. So what that person did was called a re-entrancy attack. And really the technicality around that is that it writes a function before the transaction function runs. So it's able to loop, hence called reentrancy. So it keeps going back and forth. And I really want to be as sharp as possible from a technical standpoint. This area is under development for myself, but over the past couple of days and weeks, I feel like my progression has been accelerating a great amount. I can look at a smart contract and I can read the syntax, the variables, and understand the logic that is going on. Now it's time to get to the point of start thinking outside the box for code itself. And this is exciting for me. I've been wanting to learn code for a long time. I think the first time I actually experimented with code was probably around 2016. I went on Code Academy, did some HTML, CSS, but that was it. Just idled with it for some time. And then in 2020, I wanted to develop technical skills. That was a big objective of mine for the year. And I read a lot of textbooks. I read front-end code, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, learn about backend, libraries, systems, dependency, what type of programming language to use, learn about frameworks, and got my feet wet. So I built a strong, I don't want to say strong, but I've definitely built a foundation understanding of programming itself. Also went and got some high overview of computer science, some hardware aspects, some software, some algorithm viewpoints, and this was in 2020. And then the process of building out Learn, my position definitely orientated more towards a managerial, not necessarily a technical managerial. My co-founders operated more on a technical scale. So I took my foot off the gas and the technical side for the sake of operating as a CEO. So from there, it was like that for several months, but I'd always had my pulse on blockchain. I think around November of 2020, this was actually when Clubhouse was popping off. I kept my pulse on blockchain. I would read um, layer 1 protocols, consensus mechanisms, and I didn't really have the affinity and connection to tie what I was currently doing to blockchain. And that's where I had the magic moment now, where today I know we can build on blockchain, on Web3. And that's why I have the affinity and the respect and desire to learn the depths of technicalities because now I have strong correlation and actual transition to utilization. It's not just curiosity anymore, it's actually utilization. So that's the area I've been dabbling with, and specifically I'm learning Solidity, smart contracts. I definitely want to jump into deeper languages, might jump into Rust. Um, I'm really long on Tezos, might learn some Michelson. That's down the line, of course, but I just want to develop on Solidity. It's definitely got the best documentation, the most content out there. And being a self-taught developer, new into the area, it's not easy. Getting started to just read off peer documentation it takes the time and a while to get to that point. So I'm definitely getting more comfortable with the space and my skill. And as of now, every morning I practice actual development. So I read smart contracts, I do exercises, I watch video courses, and my logical operating system has been progressing in Solidity. I'm getting much more comfortable with Solidity. So that's the core area I've been focusing on. I learned about, specifically today, about swapping ownership, as I mentioned, through the Open Zeppelin library, the challenges. I could read the code. I learned, this isn't pertaining to Solidity, but it's more about cryptography, elliptic curve encryption, which is quite interesting. It's essentially how a private key can verify that it knows the secret without giving the private key itself. And encryption is mind-boggling, the way that it got to this point. I read yesterday that cryptography secrets in like the 1980s were kept secret by the government because it was really focused around military use, and it's been transitioned to the public sector and consumers, technology, and actually building with cryptography knowledge and getting exposed to it. Like, this is insane. This is almost sci-fi level. I posted my story yesterday, like blockchain, if you explain it to someone couple, even a couple, even right now, I explained to my parents today, it sounds like sci-fi. And that's one component, elliptic curve encryption. If I can recall my memory to it, what I learned, it's essentially a curve, and you start off on one point, and the point will travel in an arrow, and that arrow will be able to verify, like I said, the knowledge, proof of knowledge. I also learned about something called, what's the term? It's essentially if you multiply two prime numbers, you get a big prime number, and reverting back to figuring out what those two prime numbers was, it was difficult. I think it's called like gate, something with a gate, reverse gating. I forgot the exact term, but I learned some aspects of that. And really the second half of the day was really around generative scripting. So this is more on JavaScript now, using Node. It's a great channel out on the web called Hashlips. And I learned how you can import layers, assets, and run scripts to create generative layers, arts, NFTs, how to get the metadata, how to do, oh, this is really interesting. The term, let's see if I wrote it down. Weighted randomness. So it's essentially how some attributes are going to be more rare, and how you decide which asset or attribute is going to be rare based off the code that you input. So got some good exposure on that. It was something I was curious about, right? We're definitely looking into the NFT space. Learnio is planning on dropping game changer. I think our collection is going to revolutionize the aspect of venture, of startups, Web3, and we could be pioneers in the space. So getting to the point of being ready to execute, we have to build the first foundations. Sorry if you hear background noise. My brother just came to the house. And yeah, to conclude is really about the script of the NFT. I also learned about how to get the metadata ready for IPFS, interplanetary file system, where you upload your NFT image, your storage off chain onto IPFS. That way you pay less gas, and then you can operate a bit more comfortable. So yeah, that's the high overview. I think I'm gonna keep it short today. It's fairly earlier than what I usually do the videos. It's right now, it's 11 p.m. But yeah, definitely gonna keep my head down at the moment, keep building and learning. Can't wait to update you tomorrow. All right, so as always, Cortez, it's a great pleasure. Let's learn endlessly, and let's get it.